Over the past few weeks, we've delved into bird species audio classification. This addresses a large concern in the environmental community, as avian diversity serves as an excellent proxy for overall ecological health. The domain suffers from a scarcity of high-quality labeled data and a lack of overall coverage for rare bird species. The samples that do exist often involve noisy environments that make it challenging to detect an individual or group of birds and discern them from animals and other noises. We decided to apply both contrastive learning via SimClear and meta-learning via mammal in order to address the data quality concerns we uncovered in the space. The largest dataset comes from a Cornell bird call classification competition, a dataset derived from Xenocanto. We included 40,000 recordings in MP3 format. We also used a lower quality extension of this dataset, which provided another 40,000 recordings. BirdClef 2022 is yet another cackle competition focusing on rare Hawaiian birds, a subset of the larger Xenocanto repository representing 152 bird species across 16,000 examples. The open mic dataset provided recordings of musical instruments and their classification. We relied on voices for data augmentation with background noise from background chatter, music, and TV. In order to process the data, we converted audio files, usually in MP3 and OGG formats, to waveforms. We then transformed these waveforms, or graphical representations, of a sound's magnitude over time into spectrograms. A spectrogram is a visual representation of frequencies on a signal on the y-axis and how their intensity varies with time. In a digital setting, these are produced via short-time Fourier transforms. It is these spectrograms that were then passed into the model. Though we attempted two backbone architectures, a ResNet and a vision transformer, ultimately, due to resource constraints, we are limited to running experiments on a ResNet with 18, 34, and 50-layer architectures. In order to maximize our model's capacity and prevent overfitting, we applied various augmentations to the spectrograms, such as spec augment, a masking technique, mix-up, a form of regularization through feature and label averaging, as well as nonlinear transforms of the spectrogram, namely trying pseudo-logarithmic scales that model human hearing, including the MEL scale for frequency and the decibel scale instead of the power scale for intensity.
With these transformations in place, we conducted a hyperparameter sweep over our model and identified the most effective combination of augmentations. With this, we fine-tuned our ResNet on BirdClef audio to establish a baseline. Our final top three accuracy on the test split was 0.839 for ResNet 18 and 0.879 for ResNet 50. We wanted to determine whether meta-learning approaches could improve the baseline model's performance in few-shot learning scenarios. We attempted this via two techniques: contrastive learning via SimClear and few-shot learning via mammal. The first attempt involved contrastive learning based on Google Research's SimClear algorithm. In this approach, two 5-second segments from the same recording with different background noise are attracted, while every other segment in a batch of pairs is repelled via a contrastive loss. Over time, we hope that the model will develop similar latent representations across different examples of the same bird species and serve as a better checkpoint for fine-tuning than ImageNet, the checkpoint used for our baseline fine-tuning. Because SimClear is known to perform better with larger batch sizes, we trained SimClear models with both batch size 32 and batch size 256. Here we owe a thank you to our project mentor, Andreas Paepcke, for giving us access to a large machine capable of this. After fine-tuning on top of SimClear, it performed better than fine-tuning alone for SimClear pre-training with batch size of 256, and the best of all of our models for overall accuracy, at 0.894 top three accuracy compared to 0.879 for the second best model. It performed about on par with fine-tuning alone for a batch size of 32. This aligns with the literature on SimClear, which indicates bigger batches are better. Since 256 is actually at the bottom of recommended batch size in the literature, we think there might be further gains to be had by scaling up the number of accelerators we have available. Additionally, our top three models fine-tuned on top of ImageNet took 68 to 82 epochs. In contrast, our top three models fine-tuned on top of the SimClear checkpoint of batch size 256 took 36 to 57 epochs to converge.
For few-shot context, we created a mammal metadata set that would randomly sample bird species in accordance with parameters K, Q, and N, where K are the number of support examples for a given class, Q represents the number of examples in the query set, and N the total number of classes. To begin mammal training, we initialized the model with the weights of our existing fine-tuned ResNet 18. We then performed mammal with a 5-way K equals 1, K equals 2, and K equals 5 shot over the BirdClef train and validation set. Following this, we fine-tuned the resulting ResNet feature extractor weights from mammal again for the full classification task. Despite the original ResNet 18's performance consistently saturating around 0.694 to 0.733 for top one accuracy when fine-tuning ImageNet weights on BirdClef, fine-tuning the new mammal feature extractor weight saturated at an improved 0.781 top one accuracy. Though we hypothesized that this model would perform best for classes with little support, mammal outperformed the best fine-tuned models by 0.048 for top one accuracy and 0.018 for top three accuracy. We're very happy with these results and may publish later with our project mentor. In the full report, we will provide more breakdowns of the exact differences between models and hypotheses for their differing performance. Additionally, we plan to run more experiments with mammal. These may include leveraging additional data sets, data augmentations, and a larger ResNet dependent on training time and resources. Future directions may include SimClear on larger batch size as recommended by the original paper. For this to occur, we will need a relatively large number of GPUs, for example, 8 at a time. Thank you for listening.